They want this to continue.
Absolutely, they do. And I'm an extraordinarily firm advocate of term limits. And the co-host, who's normally on the show, who's not on this weekend because he's got an event, he argues that no, he doesn't believe in term limits, because if you believe that the guy is really doing a good job, you ought to be able to elect him. And the solution we've come up to with that is this: great, then he can't run under a party ticket. He's got to run as a write-in candidate.
I actually agree with the term limits because we have reached a level of corruption in our society where politicians like Obama, Jay Nixon, on down to the local level, take our tax money and use it as a personal campaign account to pass out favors. And once you reach that level of corruption, just saying, well,
there is no recovery.
It's very tough.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what,
it's an addiction that's worse than methamphetamine. These guys are addicted to power, money, and ego.
Yes. But the current system we have of term limits in Missouri is a good one, but it's not complete, because you can move from job to job and still stay on the public dole your whole life.
Exactly. So
Jay Nixon has been on it so long, all his retirements have vested.
Right.
He's been on it over a quarter of a century. So I think if you're going to have term limits, have hard term limits of you're in government so long and then you're out.
And there's no pension. Period. End of discussion.
Yeah.
You're a citizen legislature. You come in, you do your job, and you get out. And I'm here to tell you, by the way, if you eliminate pensions for government workers, the first thing you're going to find is that all those people who are in for the service end of public life will tell you right off the bat, well, I'm not interested in it anymore. Because the goal here should not be you become a ward of the state. The goal here should be you come in, you do a job, you get out, and you move back into the private sector, and you do whatever it was you did before. And I don't care whether that was a shoe salesman or whether that was the CEO of a Fortune 500. You come in, you do your job, you get the hell out, and you go back to whatever it was you did. And the truth is, I'm not saying you got to starve the guy while he's in office, because then you won't get the quality people that you need, or you'll get only people who can afford to leave a job for a hiatus. But by the same token, this whole idea of, I'm okay with taking some of your pay and sticking it into 401k, just like the guy has to do when he works over at the shoe factory. But this concept of having a government, a vested government, this guy Neely, they just kicked out of the GSA. They fired him, and he's getting over $100,000 a year for the rest of his life in pension money. That's unconscionable. The guy he went on 17 vacations on taxpayer money, and they're giving him $100,000 a year to get out? That's beyond comprehension to me.
These fully vested pensions in the government need to be phased out. We need to do away with them. You can't do anything about the ones that have already vested. They're legal property rights. But going forward, I'm with you. You should go to 401k systems just like the private sector, because it's ridiculous. I'll tell you what's pathetic. As a lawyer, sitting in a judge's chamber, trying to talk about justice and having him talk about how he's got to win the next election because then his retirement will fully vest, and that's all he's interested in.
Right. And so any relation to justice can't ever be used in the same sentence, because he's already established his real motive.
That's his priority.
Hey, we've got to take a break. When we come back, Bill, one thing that's driving me nuts is this broadband initiative by the governor. I'm a small business guy. And I'm not in radio as a profession. I do this as a voluntary thing because this is my Paul Revere moment. But I'm here to tell you, this broadband problem that we have in this state is unconscionable. We have spent $100 million, and we have almost nothing to show for it. So I'd like to talk about that when we come back.
That'd be great.
Okay, we're going to come back right in a minute, folks, with Bill Randles, who's running for governor, and we'll have an opportunity to talk a little bit more, and maybe you can call in with some questions. We'll be right back. And we're back with Bill Randles, who is running for governor. My name is Mike Manchin. Bill Randles is running for governor. He'll be running against Jay Nixon. Our phone numbers, by the way, are 257-1111 and 866-554-6636. 257-1111. 866-554-6636. Bill, we were talking before about the CID zone issue and the general abuse of crony capitalism in the state. And one issue that is crony capitalism personified. If you look up crony capitalism in the dictionary, this is the picture you see. It's the current broadband initiative that's going on right now in the state of Missouri. And broadband is so critically important to the infrastructure and jobs growth in this state, which happens to be, this region where we are down here in Howell County, in Oregon County, in Texas County, we're one of the poorest areas. We're in the top 3 poorest areas in the country. And we have lots of labor opportunities, but no companies want to come here. And one of the primary reasons they don't is they can't get decent broadband. And the current broadband initiative has spent over $100 million of taxpayer money to build these fiber backbones by these chosen companies, which have won it by award or bid, some of them through federal bids, some of them through state. But we've spent $100 million. And I'm here to tell you, as a private business guy in this community, I can't get broadband in my office. I had to actually close an office and move my computer systems to a different location where I could get broadband that was brought in by a private carrier because the company that has basically a monopoly on our market here will not deliver broadband to me without an outrageous cost. I went to the local phone company, and to get a 3 megabit pipe, which, and if you're not a technical guy, I get that, but a 3 megabit pipe is nothing fantastic. They wanted $800 a month. That's unconscionable for a small business to pay. And it's not even really, you can almost get that off of DSL. And yet, the company, another company that it has a fiber optic network here, Show Me Technologies, this company has spent, I think they were given a grant, if I'm not mistaken, it was $28 million. And they built a fiber network. And what they do is they charge you to transport the traffic on this network. And I can buy the bandwidth I need in St. Louis or in Kansas City or in one of the bigger markets like Memphis. And I can buy it for 50 cents a meg, but by the time I get it here, it's costing me $100 a meg. So it's $99.50 a meg to get it here. That's unconscionable. That's like saying I bought an orange and it's going to cost me 50 cents for the orange, but by the time it gets here, I got to pay $100. How insane is that?
Well, it is crony capitalism at its best. When you have a system whereby connected companies can go to the government and spend taxpayer money to set up their business, and then they get to charge those same taxpayers who are now consumers an exorbitant fee for something that costs them nothing.
Exactly.
It is perfect crony capitalism.
Exactly. They're using this network. And you know what? They're running their own traffic across this network. And what really gripes me about it, I'll give you the analogy. This is like going to a company and saying, I'm going to give you $28 million to build a highway that's going to run from point A to point B. And when you get done with this highway, you can put a toll booth on it and collect a reasonable amount of tolls. But what they do is they build this highway with taxpayer money, and then they put a toll booth on the beginning and a toll booth on the end, and it's $1,000 to drive on it. Well, who's going to drive on it? Nobody, because the cost is too exorbitant. And if they didn't pay for it out of their own pocket, then they don't have the right to charge that kind of money. It's one thing to charge for maintenance, but if the taxpayers paid for it, the taxpayers shouldn't have to pay again to drive on it.
Well, you see, that is where their argument breaks down. They claim, the Internet and the broadband is like infrastructure of the 21st century. It's like roads. Okay, right. Then if you really believe that, what you could do is treat it like roads. You build it with public money, and the public gets to use it for nothing or for a low fee, like we pay for our driver's license and our gas tax.
A maintenance fee.
Yeah.
That's all it requires.
If you're truly treating it like infrastructure, do that. But if you're treating it like capitalism, let it be capitalism and let the private sector do it without our taxpayer money.
Do it with your own money, and then you can charge whatever you want, because the truth is you'll have to lower your prices because the market won't bear it.
Exactly.
But this concept of giving somebody a monopoly, and I have to tell you, as I understand it, they're being sued by a bunch of landowners who are saying,